Okay, welcome to Chair Assessment Training and Online Workshop. Module 3, we're going to talk about the chair assessment system today. I'm very excited to present this module, and we're going to do some demoing, and hopefully all the technology will work while we're engaged in the process. Okay, so what I want to do first is do a little review last week. I covered a lot of information. And so we talked about the anatomy and physiology of humans in chairs. And it did take quite a bit of time for us to get through that information. So I wanted to just give you a high-level overview of some of the things I think are the most important concepts that you need to think about when you are evaluating for chair fit and when you are looking to select chairs. So the first thing I wanted to remind you was to recognize and observe the employee's spinal curves relative to the design of the backrest. So we have, here we have a scoliotic curve, which most of the time you won't necessarily know unless you can visually see it. You probably won't be doing a fitting for someone like this. If you have someone with a severe scoliosis and they need a chair, I would recommend you reach out to me if I'm in your local area, and I'll come in and help you or advise you as best I can. These are really challenging to do. The next one, this refers to as kyphosis, but what I want to point out here is that some people have a larger thoracic curvature. So you can see when the guy bends over how pronounced it is, but when someone's upright, what you're going to see is a lot more forward head with thoracic kyphosis. That's the correct terminology when it's beyond normal. So, and a normal thoracic spine has just a slight forward C curve, just slight. Okay. Now, the next one was the lordotic curve, and I don't know if any of you were able to look at LinkedIn. I did post in our chair assessment training, our private group. I posted about severe lordosis, sway back, and how this can be really challenging to fit people. So let me just use my highlighter here. Let's see what color it is. Okay, it's on yellow. So what we're talking about is this area right here. And so this is the most important area to fit. Once you support the lumbar curve, the rest of the spine will follow. So it's really important to make sure that there is a good fit between the lumbar spine and the backrest of the chair, the curvature of the chair. When you see someone, maybe a pregnant woman, her lordosis might be increased. This could be considered a sway back, and so additional support might be necessary. While I'm not a proponent of backrests, pillows and mesh supports, I do think, though, that sometimes they are very helpful. But it is an indication that the chair just doesn't fit correctly. But at the same time, these things can be helpful. If you can't buy a new chair, you just have to make sure that you select wisely, because there's a lot of different types, as we discussed in Module 2. Now, this also can be referred to as a sway back. And so I'm going to show you some pictures in a little bit of how to fit someone with a significant lumbar curvature. To the contrary, the lordosis can be rather flat. And so you don't want to pick a chair that has a lot of curvature to it. Probably next week I'll put in some examples of that. Okay. So here's an example of a chair of a person I saw in their home. And this is how the chair was before I adjusted it to fit. So one of the things you should notice is the gap here that is pretty evident. And so when a chair back is set up this high, either the person needs to have pretty long waist, or where they might have some significant soft tissue or buttock tissue here to fit in this area. Now, this wasn't necessarily the case for this individual. So I want to show you, this is after the fitting. And so the seat back was reduced or dropped down to pretty much its lowest position. And then this dial here, let me turn off my This dial here is the lumbar bladder, and that inflates this part right here a little bit deeper. So for someone that has significant curve, if you have a chair that has this lumbar bladder, you're going to want to inflate it to the comfort level of that individual. Now I do what's called a fit test. I use my hand to see if I can get it between the person and the back of the front of the chair. If I can't get my hand in there, it's like a slip test, then I know that there's a good fit. You should not have a gap between your back and the lumbar spine there. Okay, so be mindful of that. You can see this nice support all the way through here. Okay, and that's what you want to look for. Weight distributed between the buttocks and the thighs, and about 2 to 3 fingers space available behind the knee and between the front of the chair. All right, so understand the importance of supporting the lumbar curve or the lumbosacral area. Okay, let me turn that off. And somebody just joined us. Let me see. Who just came in?
It's Andre Sugas from Sacramento.
Okay, thank you, Andre. All right, we're just reviewing right now from last week. So here is another person. This is a tall man, about 6'2", and this is after the fit. So I raised the backrest all the way up, you see. Now, he's got his jacket on, but he also had a fairly deep lumbar curve here. And so I raised this up to fit here and allow room for his buttocks. You see how that is right there, you guys? So most of the time, if it's too low, it's going to push into the hips and the buttocks, and they're not going to get a good fit. So again, you want to look for that nice tight line there and no space. For this individual had, now I wish I'd taken a picture of her in standing, but severe sway back, very significant sway back, and also a lot of buttock tissue right through here. Okay, so her buttock muscles and the tissue there was very pronounced, and so the chair was too low, and what happened was it pushed her forward. You can see here I've slid the seat pan all the way out, but she still has a lot of space here. And so we've engaged a footrest. And similar to this person, both of these women have very similar shapes. And so adding the footrest can help reduce some of the pressure and contact stress that might occur even with the rounded edge, or what we call the waterfall edge here. So I feel that the footrest can be very helpful when you've got somebody that has some significant lower extremity swelling, or they might have some knee pain, or they have there's some obesity. This footrest can help to stabilize the individual by providing what I refer to as a ground reaction force, or forces that push them back into the chair to sustain a good fit. So by raising this backrest up and then adjusting this again here, this person was very happy. You can see this nice smile on her face after we adjusted her chair. Okay, let's look at another one. So this is typical where you come in and you see people sitting forward of the seat pan and without any backrest support. Remember what we talked about, and this is point 3, posture is based on vision and reach, where your eyes need to see what your hands are doing or where your visual target is. So we can see she's looking at her monitor. She also has this document holder pretty far forward, and the tray is tucked under. So obviously there is some, she's sitting upright for more proximity to probably see her monitor and look at these documents or even write on them. So we just have to remind people often to cue them in. You have to sit back first and then adjust everything around you, okay? And that goes back to lesson, I think it was 1, the 5 steps to setting up the workstation, starting with chair fit. So you can see here, following, and now I've moved her to a different position just to test this height of the chair at 27 inches, excuse me, of the work surface at 27. The other side was much higher. And here we've set her back again, brought the tray out, and we repositioned her monitor and so forth. So again, you want the shoulder in line with the elbow, wrist in line with the forearms, floating, and set the armrest to provide light support during typing or keying tasks, and then they can unload when they stop keying, okay? You can look here, again, limited, good fit in here for support so that there's no gap, noticeable gap. Okay. Let's look at another example. I did mention in the lecture last week about that posture can contribute to many musculoskeletal issues. And those issues include shoulder strain. And this is a great example of someone who is sitting forward with significant contact stress here. And a lot of people, you know, armrests are somewhat controversial, and people don't feel they should maybe not use them. But what is the alternative to using them? And that alternative is leaning on the desk. And you then make the forearm, the medial aspect of the forearm, vulnerable to compression. And at the same time, you're loading all this upper body trunk weight to the forearm for support. And then the only thing that can move is from the wrist forward. So this is a really awful posture. You can see that there's actually, you know, quite a bit of distance there. This chair has a recline bias. And often these cheaper chairs present that way. Employees don't necessarily know how to lock them, but they're very easy. Once you know, this one lever here is a lock and release. You just push it in or pull it out. So getting back to the situation here, the chair is in a recline, so she has to lean forward to compensate for that gravitational force. And by doing so, she's unloading her whole upper body trunk to the work surface, creating significant contact stress to the medial elbow, forearm, and wrist. Do you think she was symptomatic? Yes? What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what kind of symptoms do you think she might have had?
Shoulder, carpal tunnel, maybe lower back.
Yeah, she didn't complain of back symptoms, but she did complain of severe numbness and paresthesias, that's numbness and tingling, to her whole forearm, and discomfort all the way up to her shoulder. Okay, so I am not a proponent of contact stress, leaning with the keyboard pushed out away so that you can use the desk for support. I've seen too many ulnar nerve impingement syndromes as a result of this, yet I have not seen the same type of neurologic problems with armrest use. Aside from that, please review some of the content I provided on armrest last week, including the vlog if you haven't taken a look at it. Now we did say, okay, go ahead and sit back and we're going to lock this up. And actually the fit is not so bad until you get down here. There's quite a bit of gap here. And then there's a lot of contact stress right here. So this is too long for her. And it's just not, she doesn't really need that necessarily that high of a back. And she's not going to work in recline because all her tasks are upright or forward leaning. So this is not an appropriate chair. I didn't talk much about stools, but I wanted to point out I was at a workplace last week, and this is a teller counter, bank teller counter. And how tall do you think this counter looks to you guys? Take a guess. You think it's over 40 inches?
It appears to be, and it has that little corner sleeve that is just ridiculous because it's only 7-8 inches long.
Yes.
It shows a Band-Aid.
So that has an improvement over what it was previously. But this is a 42-inch high counter. And so when you sit on a stool like this is a 10-inch stool cylinder. So the seat height is set probably at about 28 inches or so. That means that employees have to literally leap on and leap off of this device, of this stool. So one thing that is really important is the foot ring. Now you can see it's all the way at the bottom. The foot ring, in my opinion, is designed for two things. One, to help you get on and off the stool, and the other to support your lower extremities. It brings the ground up when it's properly set. However, 99.9% of the time when you have stools in your workplace, employees, no one will set these foot rings at the right height. So now you are the steward of setting the foot ring at the right height. How do you know what height it should be? Basically, when the person is sitting on the stool and their legs are hanging over wherever their foot, the bottom of their feet basically rest, you're going to bring the foot ring up. Now, these are challenging. You see this says tighten and loosen, and has this little plastic ring in here. You have to basically hold one part of the ring and rotate the foot ring itself, and then shimmy it up to as far as it'll go, up to probably, it'll go up a little bit higher here. You have all this room here. So you want to set it to below the person's foot height. Okay, I want to just see who joined us here. August. Okay. That you, August? When you just type in the chat, and Tony, thank you for joining us. Okay, so very challenging. Now, what I advise for people is to lower, before you get off the stool, lower it, and then get off, so that when you come back, you are at a better position to get on it, and then holding onto the work surface and 1 foot on the foot ring, rise back up. Okay, so challenging to use stools, to say the least. I think this can aggravate the lumbar spine and the pelvic area, the sacroiliac, if you have to get on and off. As a bank teller, they're probably getting on and off the stool probably, maybe 40 times a day, if not more. A lot of problems with this work area, but this is an improvement over what it was and the chairs they had previously. Any comments about stools or questions? Have you guys seen people using these inappropriately?
Well, I can see the person using that, having to pinch the work surface to pull their stool in because it's such a narrow corner and they're restricted in their leg room. I see this as a health nightmare personally, Allison, because that pinch and pull that they do all through the day to engage that counter and move that stool forward, if they're using that stool and working on the computer, it just seems very problematic to me.
It is really challenging. Just like I said, that it's better than it was. And then they have this step stool here, and that's not really a footrest, but it's a cheap solution.
Well, do you run into we run into a lot of problems. I will not support this station. So I would be a consultant that would say this is not approved by me. And the reason is that they have to tuck their feet under that stool, and that affects the circulation. So that ring on that stool is very small compared to the seat pan size. So that means that their legs will be tucked underneath. Do you run into that problem?
Yeah, that's typical, and that's why this footrest is out here, so they can put their legs out. So you can, I think you need both. You need this to help get you on and off, and to at least give you some support intermittently. Yeah. And then also put your foot ring, put your feet on this when you are seated, so that they are out in front of you. Yep, that's good. The other thing is, when they're really busy, I told them to stand up, and it's much better for them to stand and work about. Let's see, Mary Jean put in a question, here's why use a stool? This work implies a standing work, foot rings, place feet and legs back, and cut off circulation. Yeah, because they want to sit periodically when the bank isn't busy. They want to sit and do some data entry and whatever other work they might have to do on the computers. So when there's a long line, they do stand, but many of them sit and interact across. It's too deep. It's a poor design. But I have to tell you guys, bank teller terminals or workstations are historically poorly designed, just like reception areas. They don't take into consideration the interaction of counting money, using a cash drawer, along with using a computer and interacting with the customer. So we're not looking at it, we're just looking at part of the picture, but Let me just tell you for sure, it is better than it was. So, and again, it's about educating employees on how to do the best they can with what they've been given, okay? So very good, but challenge. I agree with you guys, challenge. Okay, let's talk. I talked a little bit about the armrest dilemma. I'm going to just emphasize this a little bit more. When you don't use your armrest to stabilize the forearm here, bring this up underneath it, the wrist will sag, or you will have contact stress. So a sagging wrist is wrist extension along with contact stress. Even though this is brought to the front edge, she just needs to lift her wrist up to neutral. But what helps that is by engaging the armrest to create a bridge between the forearm and the fingertips. And you use it for light support. So as you're typing, you may interact with it intermittently. But when you pause or stop, you take your hands away and you bring them back. If you leave your hands at the work surface, people are going to just stay in wrist extension. Then when they type, they're going to lean and continue to lean. So this is the method in which I support and teach individuals to use their armrest, to set it approximately at surface height to allow the wrist to stay in line with the forearm and to create a bridge between the forearm and the fingertips. Okay. I do cover that a lot more in another class, so that's my DIY training. But you get a little bit of it here. Point 4 from last week, identify an ergonomic chair by looking at the tag under the seat for manufacturer, model numbers, and chip manufacturing date. Now, we talked about how to look for this, and I showed you the posture that I advise for you to be in to do it. And to be mindful of your own posture. So not all will have this, so you'll need to describe the chair. So for example, if you have a mesh back chair that has no label under it, you want to be comfortable calling it, you know, something consistent, that when you see that same chair in your workplace, you're always going to call it the same thing. And this is important to using the chair assessment system when we get into that. You can also ask people, if you don't know what the date of the chair is, you can ask somebody, how long have you been using this chair? And they may say, oh, I've been sitting in this chair for 6 or 7 years. And then you might ask, was it here before you got, you know, was it, do you know if it was here before you got it? Or you may ask purchasing when they might have purchased that. Or someone who's been in the workplace for a long time may have some historical knowledge about when the chair came into the workplace. The age of the chair is critical to understanding its quality and competency. So whatever you can do to find out when it was purchased or how long it's been in the workplace is important. I just want to respond to Mary Jean. You said that is in regards to the last slide, they need a sit stand. I would raise your chair higher. These women were like 5'2". You can't raise it any higher. And many of them didn't want to be so high because they felt it was unstable, and it was. When a cylinder like that is up to its maximum height, even to reach the counter better, I mean, it's really unstable and a little scary to get on and off like that. So it's just a really bad teller design work area. The 42-inch height is just ridiculous. Okay, so thanks for your comments on that, you guys. Okay, now, the other thing, let me just go back to that, is that you need to understand this date because you have to decide whether the chair is still under warranty. And so as part of the chair assessment system, you need to know this for your chair inventory. And so I will go into this a little bit more detail, but it's kind of like these numbers are like the VIN number on your car. Once you have this information, you can reach out to the vendor or the manufacturer to learn about the chair warranty details. So if you can't get it from purchasing or facilities, whoever bought the chairs, then you might need to go back to the manufacturer, and they will have the number of the, usually the purchase order. You see these numbers here. So this can help to track where that chair came from. Okay. Okay. So now I want to show you, get rid of this pointer here. This was part of your, homework. I don't know if any of you guys, actually I didn't receive any homeworks this last week. Nobody did it. So I'm going to talk about that later in the session. And I know everybody's super busy, but there is some qualifiers around the course that I want to make sure is clear, and I'll talk about that towards the end here. So I do have this open. Let me get to this page here. Okay, we're going to watch this review, and I'm going to switch to a new screen share. Okay. Now this is Steve Maher, and Steve, unfortunately, I mentioned he has passed away. So what he does, though, he had several videos that were kind of helpful, and I want you to see the difference between an active ergonomic chair and an operational task chair. This is what I talked about last week. If you didn't have a chance to watch it, we're going to watch it now. Can you all see it?
Hi, I'm Steve Maher. I'm a physical therapist and ergonomics guy. One of the big questions I get is, what is the best chair for my office? And so I have two different chairs here. I have the OM5 and the Truly. They're both made by Office Master, and they're both very quality chairs, but they're both very different. So I'd like to just show you the difference between the two chairs, and then you can choose which one's going to work best for you. So this is the OM5. This is what I call a dynamic chair because it's very simple. There are no locks on this chair. And what it's designed to do is move with you in the workstation. So there's really one control with this chair, and that is the height. So you simply set the height to where it's comfortable for you. You sit all the way back in the chair so that your back is right up against the backrest. And the reason I call it a dynamic chair is because the backrest moves with you. So the entire chair is mobile. So if you're working like this, the chair is giving you support. But if you want to take a break or relax, it goes with you. You don't really have to think about how to change the settings or anything. The armrests do move up and down, so you can put those where you want. But the real thing about this is it's designed to be active in the workstation. The big problem that I see is people sit all the time. Like, commutes are getting longer, we're working harder, and then our social lives are on the phone or on the computer. So we're just static all the time. And so a chair like this really promotes movement and allows you to stay in a good supported position, whether you're way back here or way up here, back here or way up here. This is the Office Master Truly chair, and what I really like about this chair is it's what I call a task chair, or what they call a task chair, or an adjustable chair. And so the difference is with this chair, it has all the adjustability you might want. So if you have a back issue or you need more support or different support, we can adjust all the pieces. So there's always levers here. We can adjust the height of the chair. We can adjust the tilt of the seat pan so that it's slightly forward, and that will hold us in a more neutral posture. We can adjust the height of the backrest to support our low backs. We can bring the backrest forward and back. And we can change the shape of the backrest with this knob here to contour to our back. And then the armrests are really simple too. They just come up and down. So I really like a chair like this because we can adjust all the pieces to the needs of the employee. So if you have somebody that's really tall, you can get a taller cylinder. When it comes up, you can set the seat pan as depth. There's a lever on this side, so the entire seat pan will slide forward and back. So this is a really flexible chair. If you have a large staff, you can get a lot of different people with a lot of different needs in the same chair. Where the OM5 is much more dynamic, much more active. I think they're both great chairs. It just depends on your needs and how you're going to be working. If you have any questions about which chair is right for you, contact me. If you contact.
Okay. Okay, what did you think about that, you guys?
I put in the chat my concern about someone who was larger or heavy and sitting in the OM5. I've seen before those chairs fall back because a person of larger weight would end up pressing against it and it would not stay vertical. And yeah. I'm wondering if you've run into that as well.
So you have to be mindful of the weight tolerance for these chairs. So if somebody is probably more than 275, it's probably not the best chair for them. But they do have a larger version, and so you just have to check with the manufacturer.
I'm referring to the back falling, not what the weight
Oh.
capacity of the chair is, but because it's got that dynamic element to it, that it doesn't stay vertical to support them.
Well, it's it's a tension and weight activated system. So technically it's supposed to. It should not fall back spontaneously. And so the end user, again, when you source a chair, you have to understand what it brings to the table for the individuals who might be using it. So I think that when you're doing a fitting, that you have to decide who is it right for. And again, on the contrary, a small petite female cannot activate it because the weight tension is not equivocal to their weight, basically.
Yes.
So I think it's a good chair for someone that's probably between 5'6" and 5'10", and probably between 180 and 250 pounds. Mm-hmm. It's also rather wide. Now, Mary Jean, you mentioned the seat pan of the chairs are too long for him. That's a good observation. Did you also notice that the headrest is not in the right position?
Yeah.
So it was right in his middle of his back. So again, I am not supportive of headrests unless they fit the person, and it's very challenging to get a good fit. Okay. All right. So this is, I did put this in the homework, this link, if you want to watch it again. You're welcome to do that. I had 3 links for 3 different chairs. Let's see.
I mean, they're just to be scanned, right?
Oh, you hear someone talking in the background there. There we go. Okay. So the important thing here is active chair versus the operational task chair. So we will talk more next week about which ones work best for your organization. Should you have both? I think it's helpful to have both types, but it depends on the tasks that are being performed and the people that are going to be using it. Okay, so keep in mind who you think it might be good for. We'll discuss this probably next week, okay? All right, so I want to now talk about successful course completion before we go into Module 3. Completing this course successfully will result in a certificate of completion. So that means that you've attended 4 of the 5 sessions live, and or you're watching all the sessions available, okay? So after I record them, if you can't make the class, that you're able to at least look at them online. I would like to see you complete all 3 surveys. There was an intake survey. After this week, there'll be a midway survey for you to give me feedback about how the course is going in general for you, and any ways you think it can be improved, or what you would like to see, or questions that I'm not answering, or really great things that I've showed you that you really had no idea about or were very enlightening. So you have to do all 3, and then you need to complete at least 3 of the 4 homework assignments, including demonstrate use of the chair assessment system, which you're going to get today. So there will not be any homework on the last week of the class because it's the last week. So you can, and I will give you some time frames as far as how long all the videos will be up on the website and the materials accessible to you. So this will be time sensitive, but I do want you all to successfully complete the course so that you can show that you have demonstrated the proper knowledge to do chair assessment and chair fittings. We're going to talk more about that, the chair fitting side, later on today. Okay? All right, so let's go into Module 3. We're going to look at the chair assessment system now. I have been working on this since I first came up with the idea in 2010 when I was at the County of Monterey. I needed a way to convince management to budget for new chairs. The chairs were in really bad condition, and I noticed from looking at the bottom of the chairs and just assessing the what type it was and the name, the date of the chair, that they had been purchased really between a finite period between 1997 and like 2002. And those were more democratic type years in that there was more money to put towards social services and government. And so they had higher levels of purchasing at those times. Well, fast forward, I was at the county for between 2007 and 2013. And so many of those chairs were actually over 15, approaching 20 years old. And so I created this system to provide a framework for management to see how old the chairs were and the quality of those chairs, and to help them in a non-biased way make a decision about what to do about or how to best budget. So that's a little background on the system. And then from there, I continued to work on the concept. I really liked it, and there was nothing else in industry to support it. And I thought it would be helpful for people like myself or consultants, as well as purchasing and facility managers who deal with capital asset and asset improvement and asset management. So this tool has been a labor of love, and what I did then was write some white papers and present those nationally and internationally in Canada, and then recently this past summer in Italy to 2 international work conferences to my peers, and then one other one last June in Seattle. So I've gotten some really good feedback and peer acceptance. So I know I'm on the right page, so to speak. Okay, so let's take a look at what the key messages of today's workshop are. Is that ergonomic chairs are undervalued and underappreciated and poorly managed in the workplace. And then employers keep their chairs beyond their intended life cycle, putting employees at risk for injury and increasing their liability. So you have product liability issues as well as a work comp issue. Employers need a way to manage chairs as an asset in the workplace, and the chair assessment system is an asset management tool designed to inventory and assess chairs for quality and competency. So what we're going to look at today is how chairs fail, the competency of chairs and chair safety. We're going to go into the chair assessment system, how to evaluate a chair using the chair assessment tool. We'll watch a couple of videos depending on timing. I'll show you the dashboard and the database and the dashboard and the analytics, and then a little bit about creating a chair standards program. Okay, so we're going to go into lesson 1 now, how chairs fail, competency, and chair safety. And this is, I'm very, I guess, committed to this part of the chair assessment process. If you can do anything for employees, it's making sure they understand when a chair needs to be removed, when it's unsafe. And they just simply don't recognize the importance of this. And so it's really up to you to show them and to make it aware in the workplace how they can let someone know that the chair is unsafe or it's at the end of its life cycle. So some of these pictures we've seen earlier, but this chair is probably over 20 years old. You can see by the contour of the seat pan and the fabric that it's totally worn out here. The mechanics then are probably really difficult to adjust in the sense that a lot of dust accumulates and dirt in these mechanics, and so they start to malfunction or don't work properly. This is just pathetic. Staying a chair with no fabric on it at all. You know, imagine you have people walking around or guests coming to your company and they do see that. It just doesn't say very much about how you value your employees and the products that you provide to them to work with. We talked a little bit about the chair, seeing these seat cushions and backrests and back cushions. And that tells you, that's a sure sign that the chair's not fitting people right. Why do you get a seat cushion? Because the cushion itself has failed, or it's too firm. It's not comfortable for the individual. Why do you put a backrest, an additional back support like this onto a chair? It's because they haven't adjusted it for fit, or it's not the right size. So these are just Band-Aids for the real problem. And so stop spending money this way and start investing better in your chairs. So if we look at this one, this is threadbare, totally worn out. It's from a 2002 purchase. That makes it over 15 years old at this point, and so the seat has worn it out in the quality of the foam, and it's significantly worn here in the front edge. So you can see also, this is, remember what we talked about, double rub test? So this fabric has exceeded its double rubs. And so you can see how long it's been, or how often it's just been overutilized. And a chair like this is screaming to say, put me in the recycle or donate me to Goodwill. Okay. Here's a couple others, unsightly chairs. Now this chair has a very limited adjustability, fixed armrest, and then the dirt and grime that's built up there, and this one as well. What if these chairs are shared by other people? So there is definitely a sanitation factor here. You can see on this one, this is just from hair grease. And the cushion, the fabric here has not been appropriately maintained. It's been over, the seat cushion has failed, and now the fabric isn't fitting properly. And you can see the damage on the armrests and dirt, okay? So part of the, the question is, what about cleaning the chairs? Having a chair as part of the maintenance is making sure that they're clean and that they stay clean to sustain, for sustainability, okay? Here's another stool. I am not a fan of these. These are like $99. At least the ones at the bank were about a $350 investment to $400 investment, much more stable and safer to use, aside from the other issues we looked at. But here you have an employee working on a high counter with no foot ring. And when you look closer at the foot ring, you see it here, it's missing. So you've got these pokey edges, the frame of the seat, of the foot ring. And this is a real safety issue for getting on and off, and it's just a situation that's awful. And if you look at here, the seat pan, let me use my pointer, my pen. It's too small. She overhangs the seat, and there is no cushion on this. It basically bottoms out, and so you wind up sitting on the bottom of the chair, of the seat, rather than the top. So there's significant contact stress, especially at this point here. And with her legs dangling, really bad for circulation. This is too low as a footrest, but that looks like what it was intended to be. Okay, so just some inspection is really important in looking at the quality and competency of chairs. So let's summarize what a bad chair is. A bad chair distracts from productivity, and it also contributes to and can aggravate musculoskeletal conditions. And we went over that last week, all the problems that can result from a chair that doesn't fit right, or is poorly constructed, or is not operational the way it's supposed to. So the primary areas of failure that I want you to be aware of is that it looks bad. If it looks bad, then it is bad, probably. But be mindful of that the fabric and how a chair looks is important in the workplace. It's an important message as to what it says about how you value employees in the workplace. The lack of support leading to discomfort. So if the seat cushion fails, then it's not going to support the buttock and the thighs effectively, and can affect the lumbar spine as well as the sacrum. I have to say, with cushion chairs, the seat cushion usually fails far before the backrest, because the weight tolerance and leaning on the back is not the same as sitting on the seat. But many people have discomfort associated with these issues. There's mechanical failure, so the cylinder or the pedestal will fail. The tilt and tension mechanisms fail, or they've never been engaged. They remain unutilized for the life of the chair. And then the levers and knobs can break or malfunction and stop working. There can be breakage and wear down, foam breakdown, fabric breakdown, plastic cracks or breaks, and the casters don't roll any longer from grime, from dust, from hair. These things get caught in the chair. So they all these four factors, plus this last one, the sanitary factor. And I'm talking about, you know, hair, dandruff, body fluids, food and liquid stains, dust, and allergens. This is what I refer to as the cootie factor. When you don't clean your chairs and you use them for multiple shifts, and this poor sanitation issue comes up. I mean, it's like sleeping on a mattress for far too long. There is a life cycle to these chairs. The fabric, the foam, the sanitation, wear and tear. It really makes it obvious that these chairs, if you have them, are not fit for duty any longer. And I like to think of the chairs as that. They're just simply shouldn't be around anymore. Now, what typically happens to chairs that aren't fit for duty? Ironically, they get moved to another cubicle, and there's no sign on them usually or anything. So employees will move them out of their work area if they do recognize that they're failing, and they'll grab another chair, right? And they'll just propagate the problem. So they'll put it in a cubicle that no one's sitting in, or they'll put it out in the hallway, and then some unsuspecting employee will come along and see the chair and think, oh, this looks like this will fit me better, and then they'll take it into their work area, and then they're stuck with a bad chair. So you have to stop that cycle, and that's one of the things that the chair assessment helps with. Okay, so have some program around broken chairs or chairs that are dirty and need to be cleaned. So this I found hanging in the workplace of one of my clients, broken chair forms. If your chair is broken or you have found a broken chair, please fill out the red chair repair request form and place it on the seat pan of the chair. So letting somebody know at facilities or maintenance that the chair is no longer operational. So let's take a look at what I mean by this is the most common way that chairs fail, okay? Let me share my screen with you here. I think I have to open this. Open that. So we're going to test this chair. I'm just put under competency. So one thing about a chair cylinders, if you like to stay stable, so when I get on it, it kind of drops down a little bit. And you can see how loose it is. It shouldn't spring up and down like that. That means that it could be failing soon. When I drop it here, it drops pretty hard down to the bottom. So those are not good signs. I'll raise it back up. So we don't have good cylinder competency there. Okay. Okay. Have you seen chairs like that? You guys?
I've come across a couple.
Let me get my screen back up for you. Go ahead.
I'm curious why that station had a stool. Was that a desk that was taller and not a chair?
Yes, that was her preference. It is a sit-stand desk. Okay, so what winds up happening is that the employer will provide stools so people can keep the desk at the standing height and not lower it to sitting. Then they just sit on the stool.
But then the person can't have their feet flat on the floor or extended out from them and always has to tuck their feet.
Well, unless they have a footrest, and I think she did. But I'm not an advocate of stools in the workplace when you have a sit-stand. I think that's just a lazy solution.
I agree.
Yeah, you don't want to raise and lower it, and that's what it's intended to do. And I think the dynamics of stool sitting, I don't support it very much, only on a limited basis, you know, because of these problems that you're pointing out. So I agree with you in that sense. Okay, so let's see. All right, I have one more to show you. Let's see if I can get it to you. Okay, here's another one. Now this is a chair. Okay, yeah. And so people continue to use these stools, and without saying anything to their employer. Okay, can you see both of those chairs now, myself, are you looking at the same thing I am?
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, all right, let's go. So this is the most significant way that the chair will fail, that employees will recognize but not do anything. Now, often they'll sink also. So that is early signs of failure. Once the cylinder fails, it means that it doesn't hold its position. They may bring it back up and then it sinks slowly over time, or it bottoms out. And the problem with a chair with a failing cylinder is that one day it will fail when the person comes and sits on it. And people don't necessarily lower themselves with the armrest. They will plop down into the chair. And if you have 250 to 300 pounds of force on that cylinder and it fails, the person is susceptible to a spinal compression or some other type of a herniation of the disc, some other significant type of injury. Okay, so now we'll look at warranty issues in a couple weeks, and I'll show you some more things that happens. But if the chair is within the warranty now, you can easily fix that with the manufacturer. Okay, so we'll explore that more in the coming weeks. All right, so that is significant observation that I want you to make. And so let's look at the stages of a product's life cycle. So you can see in the image here, it starts with the materials of constructing it, manufacturing, and then distributing it, using the product, and then disposal and waste. We're going to focus on the use side using the chair assessment system. But what you need to have is some kind of disposal and waste recycle program of your ergonomic chairs. At the county, I would flush them out. In the building I was in, I would gather all the failed chairs that were outside the warranty, and I would bring them over to our storage yard. I'd have a truck come and pick them up, and we would get them out of the workplace. Okay, so you have to have some kind of end-of-life management system in place to help with your chair asset management program. You probably have it for a lot of other things, but you've got to include your chairs as well. Otherwise, they stay in the workplace. And if management doesn't know they need to replace them because no one is removing them, then you will never be able to replace them, So it makes a lot of sense. So what is a chair life cycle? It has been described as life cycle assessment, and that's a tool endorsed by the United Nations under this ISO standard. And the life cycle assessment concept is basically looking at the environmental profile of a product, a process, or a service by taking into account all stages of its life cycle from cradle to grave. So from the extraction of the materials and so forth, just like the image I showed you earlier. Okay. So how do you assess the ongoing performance of your chairs? And do you inventory what you have? Does anybody inventory their chairs out there? If you guys could let me know. Type in or say yes or no.
We keep an inventory of models, but not a total.
I haven't done that.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, we don't inventory them.
Okay. And who was that? I just said
Anna.
that. Anna, okay. Is Deborah Taylor on the line? Or Marilyn? Okay. And then Elizabeth. I don't think Elizabeth is here either. Okay. Do you know which chairs work for employees, which don't, and why? Do you? Yes, no, hello?
Sometimes.
Okay, so you should have an idea of the ones that do fit and kind of profiling of what works for people and what doesn't. Do you have any criteria to determine what works best and what fits best? Okay. If you're not sure, this is what the chair assessment system will help you with. So in my opinion, I felt that employers needed a way to develop ergonomic chair standards based on employee preferences, chair fit and comfort, and inventory their chairs for preventive maintenance and sustainability, objectively measure chair quality and competency, prioritize a budget for chair repairs under warranty or replace and purchase new chairs, and then fit employees for the right chair based on task performance and employee dimensions. I got tired of seeing chairs assigned what I call willy-nilly. So, you might have someone in a cubicle or 6'5" and in a chair that's not really designed for them. And then you might have a petite female in a chair like the one that's shown, and that's certainly not designed for them either. Now, this chair also is this was a broken chair, and it was still in the workplace. The base had broken underneath the seat, but it was still being used. Okay. So we talked about this, I think, last week, the criteria for ergonomic evaluation of work chairs. And there are certain criteria that the chair or characteristics that the chair should meet, that it should be safe, adaptable, comfortable, practical, durable, and sustainable. And to measure and evaluate chairs under these qualifications, we can use basically a 3-point chair criteria to show whether it's acceptable, not acceptable, acceptable, or good. Now, in the chair assessment tool, instead of using these terms, which I identified later on after I'd already created the system, we use poor as not acceptable, acceptable is fair, and good is good. So this is the criteria under which you will be able to rate your chairs and determine where they lie on the chair risk timeline. Are they low risk where you can keep them? They're in good shape, they fit people, all the components and mechanics are working, the fabric is in good condition? Or are they kind of halfway through their life cycle starting to show signs of failure where they need repair and they're still under warranty, where you can repair them? But if you can repair them and they're no longer under warranty and you don't want to spend the extra cost, then it might be time to replace them. Chairs that need to be replaced are considered higher risk. And so when employees are using your chairs along this continuum, then you also increase or are able to better manage their risk exposure. Now, 99% of employers can't answer this question. Where are your chairs in this this risk timeline? So the chair assessment helps you to do that. It provides a way to, it's an integrated approach to optimize the life cycle of your chair assets from cradle to grave, to manage your chair standards, to optimize the warranty for preventive maintenance, for budget and purchasing process, for appropriate data-driven decision-making. Many employers are very keen on using data to drive their decisions. And matter of fact, when it comes to chair purchasing, the most common answer is we can't afford it, or we don't want to invest in our chairs, or they're just too expensive. And so now you're going to be able to provide data-driven decision-making, analytics to help them make that choice. It can be incorporated into the daily business routines. So when new chairs come in, you can inventory them and make sure that they're appropriately working the way they're supposed to, because a new chair doesn't guarantee that it works the right way. I can assure you of that. The ability to forecast your needs and budget for investment in chair assets and manage risk more effectively. So it's a very comprehensive approach to managing these things more effectively. So missing is an objective methodology regarding how to select, fit, and assess a chair through its life cycle while in the workplace, right? So that risk assessment tool will help you to evaluate whether to keep, repair, or replace and fit. So this is the chair life cycle that I've developed under the use section. Keep, repair, replace, and fit. Okay, it's a great way to remember how you're going to assess the chairs and what time frame they're in as far as categorizing them. So let's look at the chair assessment system a little closer. It's a chair asset management system to inventory in real time what you have, to identify worn, broken, and outdated chairs for repair, replacement, and to identify if they're a safety concern. It'll help prioritize chairs that need to be repaired or replaced sooner than later utilizing the warranty. I can't tell you how many employers do not take advantage of the warranty that these manufacturers provide. You're literally leaving thousands of dollars on the table unutilized. It's like when your car has free maintenance, you take advantage of it. But why don't you do the same thing for your chairs? It's because it's simply just not on an employer's radar. Allow departments to budget more effectively based on objective assessment. So you basically are removing the bias from who needs a chair and why. And then establish chair standards, sort out standard from non-standard. So you can get everybody on the same page. And again, it's non-biased and objective. So the purpose of the chair assessment system is to manage your chairs as a system from policy to procedure, to purchasing, training, and maintenance, to select quality chairs as standards for best fit of the workforce, to determine chair competency for ongoing use, inventory your chairs for preventive maintenance, track for removal and replacement, and fit employees properly for new chairs, and avoid bias in who needs a chair. Okay? I mean, this system can help really fine-tune and manage your chairs more effectively. Of course, when you use it, you have to use it. So who's it designed for? Really, chair decision makers and chair users, anyone in the, what I call the chair supply chain cycle can use this product. Anyone who budgets for chairs or buys chairs should use it. Anyone who uses an ergonomic chair can evaluate chair quality and competency once they understand what the chair features are and how it's intended to be used. So I've listed a number of people that can benefit from this product, and many of you represent the categories that are listed here. Now, the chair assessment system is broken into two components, the software itself and then the chair fitting forms. For this workshop, we're going to focus on the chair assessment system, the software. And you'll see on Module 3, when you go back to the student resources, you have several of these resources included with your purchase of this online training. You're going to get the chair assessment tool, which we're going to look at. You'll get the chair assessment inventory database, but yours is limited to 50 chairs. But that's a significant amount, enough to try the chair assessment database to make sure you like it and it's going to be helpful to you. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. The dashboard with critical analytics and your chair standards policy and procedure and your instructions on how to use it, including some maintenance and support. Actually, that's included with the license. There's no maintenance, but there is support at least for the next 90 days for you guys for the system. Okay, so your license is limited to 50 chairs when you participate in this online training. So I'm really excited for you to try this. So let's take a look and see what is included. So we're going to start first with how to evaluate an ergonomic chair using the chair assessment tool, or what I refer to as the chair, the CAT. Okay, so the whole system is, so you have the tool, which is the form that evaluates the chair, and then you have the software. Okay, we're going to demo both of these right now. So this is the chair assessment tool. And let me go ahead and open the PDF so you can see it. Let me share it with you. Are you all hanging in there with me? Understand what's, are you convinced it's something that you can benefit from?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
All right, great.
Definitely.
Okay. So right now you should see the chair assessment tool. Everybody see it? Yes?
Yes.
The whole form, not the PDF. I mean, not from the PowerPoint, but from the form. Okay. So this is what you would take for your field notes. So you see at the top, enter your results into the CAS inventory database and record your chair status. Now, you're going to take, maybe you want to look at, actually for your homework, I want you to evaluate, at least try to evaluate up to 10 chairs. And I'll show you why I want you to do it up to 10. If you do 5, that's fine. Between 5 and 10 is what I would like to see, okay? So you're going to take this, the single page out into the field. You're going to establish an ID for the chair, the cubicle number, the evaluation date. And I'm going to do this in the database itself, which is the same form, but this is for your field notes. Manufacturer, model number, chair year, shifts. And then we're going to look at, you're going to sit in the chair to test and assess each area. Select the option that best describes the quality and competency of the chair in each category. So before I talked about good, fair, and poor, or acceptable, excuse me, not acceptable being poor, acceptable, and good. That's where these terms come from. So when you're looking at fabric and cushion quality, I've showed you enough examples for you to kind of gauge where that chair lies in this continuum. So you're going to go into whether it has good chair comfort, foam is supportive, fabric or mesh is in good condition. Fair is fabric is intact, some light stains beginning to show signs of wear, foam is unevenly worn and or compressing. And poor condition is it's well worn, thin and stained, torn fabric or mesh, foam is collapsed, can feel seat bottom. Okay? The mechanics of the chair. Now you need to understand how to adjust the chair, and you have to move the chair through all the adjustments that it has. So the back angle, the seat tilt, the armrest, the seat height. You're going to test all features and decide, is it good condition, fair, or poor? I'm not going to read each of the criteria just for the essence of time. Now when it comes to chair comfort, I'm hoping that you'll be rating the chair with that employee present, because you want to ask them, what is your perceived comfort? And show them the scale. Do you find your chair to be very comfortable, comfortable, or uncomfortable? And let them read each of the criteria, and then ask them to be honest about how the chair feels. Now you will have sat in the chair as well, okay? And so you're going to together make a decision on how it feels to that end user. Especially in the essence of time. So the longer they sit in it, does that comfort remain, or does it become more uncomfortable? So also looking at how the chair fits. So people might say that, oh, it's comfortable to me, but you see that it's not fit well, that it's too big or too small. So even though they might perceive it as comfortable, keep in mind that they're not well trained in how to necessarily assess the quality of the chair, and you're there to help them with that. The last one is overall quality and competency. Now this is where you take all these factors together and you decide really, where is this chair? Where does it lie in that compendium from poor to fair to good, low risk, moderate, or okay to high risk. And so this kind of summarizes each of the above factors with cushion, fabric quality, all features work and the employee is comfortable. Fair cushion and fabric quality, only some features are functioning. The warranty is nearly expired. Employee uses external cushions, generally comfortable, chair is acceptable. Or poor, the chair and fabric are worn and torn, features don't work, warranty expired, employees uncomfortable, chairs unacceptable. Now, if you have a chair that doesn't fit, but the quality is still there, then you should probably mark that it's poor condition, because you want to probably move towards more of a fit and a replacement if possible. If the chair cannot be adjusted to fit, then it's probably unacceptable that the person continue to use it if they're not getting the support they need. So there's a degree of professional judgment. This guides you through looking at the chair. In the end, it will give you the answer, and you want to make sure that you concur with that answer. Okay? All right, so with that in mind, any questions about the chair assessment tool? Okay, so I'm going to now go back to the PowerPoint, and we are going to let me go back to my PowerPoint here. Now, this will take 10 minutes to look at this. I review 3 chairs here, all 3 of them, and so I would like you to watch them. These are in your homework on the website. So please watch this for about 10 minutes, talk about these 3 different chairs and the problems that they have. So before you go out and do your analysis, I want you to watch that video, okay?
Yep.
Now let's look at the dashboard and the database and the analytics. Okay. So what we're saying here, so the chair assessment system is an Excel file, and and the other tool, the chair assessment tool, is a PDF. So it's very easily works well with a PC. If you're on a Mac, it doesn't work for Mac. I don't know what else. I haven't created that side because just the need isn't there right now. So I hope if you're not on a PC, let me know, and we can talk later, okay? So let's take a look. Let's do a live demo, and let me share the screen with you. Okay, it's right there. All right, this is what it looks like. Now, this is after you open your trial of 50. It's going to have two screens. Both of them they're macro screens, so you have to accept for changes. So accept screen 1, there's a yellow bar at the top, and accept screen 2, yellow bar at the top. Once you accept it, you're going to change the name to something that's familiar to you, so that don't keep it as its original format. Okay, that's my recommendation to you. Now you look at the bottom, there are instructions here, so you can go through that, but I've also printed this out for you and given it to you today in this week's homework or handouts. Okay, now what you're going to do, you're going to start here, and you're going to enter your contact information: employer, address, city, state, zip, and then purchasing or facilities if you want, contact name, phone, email, and who the chair evaluator is. So since this is your trial, I would just put your own information in here. Now, I'm not going to do that right now. We're going to just go ahead to the trial. So you see the chair assessment tool form. It has now populated to show you it's the same field notes. It's the same form that I just presented to you. So you're going to take your field notes and you're just going to populate it here. So I'm going to do a demo right now. What I recommend is that you start to label your chairs, and it's good to like maybe create some file labels and tag your chairs so you know that you have assessed them. You certainly don't, if your chairs look alike, you want to know which ones you looked at already. So use like a file label on the top of a file, something that would go right across here, something you could put on maybe the base of the chair. People often, employers will buy property tags, so you might invest in some property tags that have some new numbers on them, and those numbers would associate with the chair ID. Okay, you could get RF tags, radio frequency tags, barcode tags, things like that, but you need a way to identify that you have assessed the chair. So I'm just going to start with chair number 1, and I'm going to put it in cubicle number 1. Now there are drop-down menus here, so if you know, you're going to be able to build your database as you build in this information. It'll populate it with today's date. You're going to put the department. I'm just going to put human resources right now. Okay, and you'll see that it's going to appear every time after we save this. I'm going to do 2 of these for you today. The location is going to be Pacific Grove. So if you have multiple locations, you can build for multiple locations, multiple departments. And I'm going to put my own name in here. Oops. Okay. These will all populate then, therefore, going forward. As far as the manufacturer, I'm in a steel case gesture chair. So I am going to put it in like this. Now this is very important to be consistent, because when you look at the dashboard, when we're finished, you want everything, you know, the data that you put in is going to reflect in that dashboard. So if you call your chairs a variety of different things, if you don't know what they are, and you say, okay, it's an Asian chair number 552, and then you see it again and you call it Asian mesh back chair, but it's really Asian 552, then you're going to get results from 2 different chairs that you're tracking, even though it's the same type of chair. So you want to call them the same thing, okay? Now, I know my chair is from 2015, and it's used for just 1 shift, okay? So last week's homework was all about looking at the bottom of the chair, identifying the name, the model, and the type of chair, whether it was an active or a task chair. That was leading up to this. So now that you understand why I wanted you to do that, you can just do it here also, okay, or instead of. So my chair, let's see, I don't know if you can see it here. It's in pretty good condition. It has a little bit of stains on it, okay? But there are 2 videos, and the cushion quality is still pretty competent. So I'm going to rate it as good, okay? The operational mechanics, all features work well. Nothing's really broken on it. It adjusts properly, and it holds my position effectively. I'm going to click that. The chair comfort, I find the chair to be very comfortable, actually. I'm very satisfied with the chair fit. There's one area I would like to have a little more lumbar support. So actually, fair chair comfort, satisfied with the fit, not sure of all the features, requires adjustment, uses external cushions. No, it definitely falls into the good category. And so overall, since I've rated already 3 goods, I know that pretty much it falls into the overall good condition category. Now I can load a picture from my picture files here. You see if I can find a picture here. Training pictures. So let's just say this is my chair, but it's not. But you can see how it loads it in there, okay? And I'm going to write some comments. I'm going to say that that gesture chair provides limited lumbar support. Okay, now I'm going to select Assess Chair, and I get my score. Based on the data I provided, my Steelcase chair scores as keep. And it automatically populates it here into the database. Okay? What do you think of that, you guys?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it.
It's
Yes.
really simple to use. Now I'm going to go back here, and so you can see here this is a database sample. And so as you go along, you'll have the individuals' names, you'll have the chair IDs, the cube number, the departments, the location, the manufacturers, the chair model, chair year, multi-shift use. So all this will populate for you, and then at the end, it's going to tell you whether to keep, repair, or replace. Now, there is a video here. What I forgot to show you, this one here. Oops. I think it's this one. I'm going to go ahead and take a minute to show this to you. Let me make sure I share that with you. Okay, I'm going to show you a video of the chair assessment tool, and I'm going to make this available to you on the website.
Heller-Ono. And today I'm going to introduce you to the Worksite International Chair Assessment System. We're going to use the chair assessment tool to assess how the life cycle of this chair is holding up over time. It's important to evaluate 6 primary components: the age of the chair, whether the chair is used for 1, 2, or 3 shifts, the cushion and fabric quality, the operational mechanics of the chair comfort as perceived by the end user, and the overall quality and competency of the chair, taking all factors into consideration. To determine the age of the chair, we look at the underside or the bottom of the chair for the manufacturer label. We're going to look for the chair year, delivery date, or shipping date. Year when it was shipped was 2014. We'll mark it on the chair assessment tool. Aside from the age of the chair, we need to look at cushion and fabric quality. Fair condition indicates there's some signs of wear and tear, and the foam may be unevenly worn. For poor condition, the foam will be completely compressed, and often the person winds up sitting on the bottom of the chair rather than the top of the foam. Operational mechanics is the next feature we are going to assess. The cylinder is a critical component of operational mechanics and the most likely area for the chair to fail. You want to assess for the competency of that cylinder, that it holds its position chair and it drops a few inches, that's poor quality and likely to fail. Again, we're going to use good, fair, or poor condition. We look at the other features of the chair. Does the back recline? Can the armrest raise and lower? Turn in? Can the seat be adjusted forward? Seat back? And all these mechanical parts of the chair should work effectively to assure safety and competency for ongoing use. The next component is perceived comfort. In this category, we will ask the end user, the person using the chair, how they feel about the chair. Please rate the chair whether you find it to be comfortable, very comfortable, or uncomfortable. And be honest. The final category is overall chair quality and competency. Here you're going to take all 6 factors and put them together to rate the chair, filing as in good condition, fair condition, or poor condition. That's taking into consideration the age, the cushion and fabric quality, the operational mechanics, and the end user comfort. The most important thing is that we make a decision regarding the chair quality and competency to continue to use right in the Worksite International Chair Assessment Tool and a system will help you to make that decision.
Okay. Let me pause that and go back to. What do you guys think of that?
The tool looks great. I'm looking forward to trying it.
Okay.
It's good.
Do you think it looks challenging or
Yeah.
pretty straightforward?
Yep, it looks straightforward.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Now, what I recommend is you do this as part of an ergo assessment, or you just do it independent of just looking at chairs themselves. So you can just go and look at, you know, do a few chairs at a time, or let's say you have a couple of values you're going to do, or sometimes people just need help with their chairs. So this is a great way to document what's happening around your chairs and build your inventory. So you should see now the chair assessment system dashboard. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what it does is 2 things. It looks at the number of chairs by manufacturer. So it takes it and breaks it down into the type of chairs you have and the department location where they're being used. So that if you want to help human resources purchase new chairs, you can inventory just chairs in HR, and you can get details about what kind of chairs they're using there and the quality and competency of those chairs and where they lie in the continuum. Now, the red, yellow, and green is an important component of the system because it tells you red is basically the chair needs to be replaced, close to failure, or just not operationally working effectively. The green are good, and the yellow is kind of your midway, those that may need to be repaired or refurbished. As the professional using the tool, you're the one that has to decide. Even if the chair may rate as in the yellow or as repair, you still may feel it needs to be replaced, okay? So it doesn't override your judgment, of course, of what you see. But it comes pretty close to assessing it. So it's going to break down the number of chairs by manufacturer model for you. So in the sample I just showed you, there's a Chinese import mesh or large executive, the Herman Miller, a Rainer conference chair, and a Rainer Plus chair. Remember, the better you title your chairs, the better your data is going to look. So try not to put in a million different names. Be consistent with what you call your chairs so that it breaks it down for you. So in this, there's basically 10, 16, about 20 chairs in this database right now. 10 of them needed to be replaced, 5 were good, and 5 needed repairs or refurbishing. By department, this will break it down by department. And you can always go back to see, okay, what 2 chairs can we keep in the Anaheim location? You go back to your database and it's going to show you the green keep, the chairs that scored as keep. It'll evaluate the cushion and fabric quality by manufacturer, the operational mechanics, and the comfort perceived by manufacturer. I think this is really important because If your employees aren't comfortable with the chairs you're buying, you'll be able to track that and know not to buy those in the future. If the mechanics are failing more frequently with one chair versus another, you'll know that as well. And if the cushion and fabric isn't holding up very well comparatively, you'll know that. And then it sorts it by department. Okay, so you'll know what chairs are being used where and how long they're being held up and the usefulness of them. Now there's several other things around this, but I want to just give you some time to explore it. So you can, this is your system you can, if you don't have access to chairs because you are a solopreneur, then you could just go ahead and go through the form and fill it in like I did and just run the test. Just make a test for yourselves, okay? So it answers vital questions like the age of the chair by manufacturer model, the comfort as I just went through for you, okay? So any questions around that? Do you think that will be helpful to you?
I'm very curious about as a product, will you go into pricing for a customer if they're interested in purchasing, or is that not today?
Not today, no. If you have someone interested, it's something that we would talk about, after the class. You just have to email me and let me know what your interests are. We would start, we have a trial where the client who's interested can try it for up to 10 chairs. And then you can purchase a license after you try it. And there's a video, and I can do a online, a demonstration, that kind of thing, just like we're doing here. Okay, do you feel comfortable with what I've shown you in this area? Do you think you can go and use the chair assessment tool and the chair assessment system over the next week or two?
I think we can.
Okay, good. I'm trying to keep things simple, the simpler the better, right? It's just, and maybe you're asking, well, how long does it take to evaluate a chair? It's probably about 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, I think. Sitting on it, talking, getting the data initially written down, sitting on it, trying all the features, talking to the end user, and that's it. It probably shouldn't be any more than that. Now, you can take time, though, to educate the employee on how the chair adjusts and how to use it. And so then it might be 15 to 20 minutes, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and move on, getting close to the end of the time period. So the last thing is the chair standards policy. So I'm giving this to you as well. The policy provides a system-wide framework to manage your chairs as an asset. It identifies who is responsible for chair purchase and management and preventive maintenance. It identifies your preferred chairs as far as like when you're going to standardize on them. And so what you want to limit your departments from purchasing, basically it puts some controls over this process so you don't wind up with 60 different kinds of chairs in the workplace. And it advises on how to request a chair fitting and other strategies surrounding chair management. So I've included for you, again, in the handouts, the ergonomic chair policy. And I'd like you to take a look at it and create a policy or propose a policy for your organization. And it would be done in addition to inventorying those up to those 10 chairs that I'm recommending. And I would like, this is your homework for the next week or two, okay? So to summarize, the chair assessment system is the solution. Chairs are managed as a system in the workplace. There's knowledge of chair selection for the workforce. There's increased awareness and understanding of chair value. It gives you better recognition of chair quality and competency. It's actual evidence that you can present to management and your leadership to show that your chairs are failing, that the chairs need to be repaired, that you need more resources around your chair systems. It'll assist employees in how to adjust for fit. So while you're assessing the chair for quality and competency, you can actually train the employee on how to adjust the chair. And it'll improve the investment in the quality of your ergonomic chairs, okay? So the CAS will assure that chairs remain in the workplace for the appropriate lifespan, safe for ongoing employee use. And that's what you want. That's what you want, to be assured that the product you're putting in place is competent and sustainable for employee use. So I mentioned about the homework. I'm suggesting for homework that you use the chair assessment tool to evaluate 10 chairs, input the data into the chair assessment system inventory and dashboard to determine chair quality and competency. This will give you the scores: keep, repair, or replace. You can make up your inventory also if you don't have access. And I did suggest that you save the file as, okay? The second part is to create a chair standards policy based on your inventory results, or propose a chair standards policy for your organization or your client, and what type of chairs you might recommend to them based on your evaluation of your inventory and whether that inventory is really achieving the goals that you want it to. I think that this is probably a 1 to 2 hour assignment for you guys. Okay, now the chair policy is a fillable form, pretty easy to use. Go back to, there it is. Okay, so you can just fill it in. It's a PDF, so you can just do a template. I mean, it is a template. You can just save it as for your organization, and then you would email it to me, upload it in the homework assignment. Okay. Any questions about that? Do you think you can try to get both of those done, or at least take a look at them and do the best you can?
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think this is the crux of the course, you guys. So if you really want to get value from the training I'm providing, doing this homework is really important. And giving me a chance to review it for you, and because I will look at everything you send me and give you some feedback, okay? It is part of the lesson, the module next week, to give us some time to do that. So I'm going to give you a little bonus. So complete this week's homework, and I'll give you our popular job aid, which I love this card. It's a double-sided card. I don't have one. Let me see if I have one. Nope, I don't have one in my office here right now. But this is a double-sided card. That's how it looks, except it's a flip card, and it's about 8.5 by 11, and it has 10-point checklist for healthy seated computer habits and for healthy standing habits. So if you do your homework, I'll send you the PDF of this. You can actually take it to a printer and get it reproduced in volume. And we do that. We give them out every time we do an assessment. It's a great job aid for employees, and it makes a lot of sense, and people really like to use it. How do you feel about that?
Right, thanks.
You got to get your homework done, okay? So
I'm going to get it done.
okay, get her done. Now, just a couple other things to remind you. Coming soon on December 17th, I've scheduled the live chair fitting lab. It's in Cupertino at the Heller-Ergonomics showroom. And I have a special rate for pilot attendees, and that's $297. It's basically from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And here you're going to learn the chair fitting side of the equation. And you'll receive the tools for chair fitting. And you can earn your chair assessment specialist credential. But I kind of need to know if anybody out there is interested to attend. If you're in a geographical location in the Bay Area and you can come, do you think that anybody interested to come to the class, or you're just not sure yet? Can you let me know?
I'm interested.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's December 17th, so I need probably at least 6 people to register. If I don't get it, I'm in the next probably 2 weeks, I probably will not hold the class. However, so there is a midway survey I'm going to send to you after class today, and you can let me know what your thoughts are on that. And your feedback is really important to me. Okay, if you can't make it, that's fine. You can let me know in the survey that I'm going to send you. So what's next in Module 4? Well, I'm going to show you some basic chair fit principles. And I'm going to include one chair fitting form as a bonus, okay? Now, because this is a pilot, I want to see if you can complete 3 chair fittings. a petite person, an average, and a large or obese. And you'll need to submit that to me to earn your CASP, and I'll give you more details later. But I'm trying to see if it's possible to teach chair fitting without being live, you know. The 90 minutes that's allocated, I may need a little bit more time next week to show you that. So if you could plan an extra time, which you guys generously have been doing, I appreciate that. Obviously, I realize it will negate your need to come to the live training, but I want to see if I can teach it this way. And so I don't know if I will hold it or not, but your feedback in the midpoint survey that I'm going to send is going to be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to try to give you the tools you need that you can learn online. How do you feel about that?
Good.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. Any questions about today's class? Do you guys have, or any comments? Are you like excited, blown away? Can't wait to get down there and assess your chairs.
Right. That's it.
Great. Well, I really hope that you'll take advantage of the chair assessment system and use it. And I look forward to getting your assignments back so that I can look them over and just see that you're using it and getting the value out of it that it's intended for. And then I will also send you your bonus after I receive that, okay?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm here for you. And if you have more questions, so basically you were getting a limited license to use the chair assessment system as a result of participating in the pilot. If you like it, then we can discuss purchasing the full license and everything that it comes with. All right, so keep me posted on that. I will be checking in modules 4 and 5 and giving you more detail as we get closer. All right, so thanks so much, everybody, for your participation today. Please check your emails for my follow-up. I will post the video of today's lecture, and I will give you the link to the midway point survey that I need you to finish. And if you check the resources page, all the chair assessment system tools are available for your download. So make sure you take advantage of everything that's posted, because the resource page will probably only be up for about another 30 days after we finish the class. All right, anybody have any other questions or thoughts? Okay.
Nope.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep,
Thank
happy
you.
Thanksgiving, everybody. You guys have been fantastic. Thanks for hanging in there, and I'll see you next Monday, okay?
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
All right.
See you
have a
later.
good day. Okay, bye-bye.